Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. So, we're starting off a new show. The new show is called Am I Haunted? We're going to be bringing on some guests throughout the upcoming weeks that their homes are have activity, and we're going to be talking about that. Um, we'll find out a little bit more about their history, the background, things like that. So, it's going to be a lot of fun. Really looking forward to the new show concept. And tonight's guest is going to be amazing. We're just having a little chat um, behind behind the scenes, and oh, I'm so excited for this. Our backgrounds are just so much alike. So, um, anyway, without further ado, I'm going to bring on Joni White Buffalo, and I'm going to welcome her to the show. Hello,
Annie,
Joni. How are you
bonjour.
doing?
Hello.
I don't
How are
speak French.
you? Oh, well, yeah, bonjour is French, but in indigenous cultures, bonjour, which is hello. There's a few different ways we say hello. We say Annie, bonjour, Tanzi. That's our way of saying hello. I
Oh,
am from
nice.
Canada, so we have various different ways of introduction when we say hello, and that was one of them. How
Oh,
are
nice.
you?
I'm doing good. What about yourself?
I'm good. I'm excited. I
Oh my
could
gosh, I
feel
am so
the
excited.
Yeah, the intensity, the energy has definitely uprised in the last half hour prior to coming on to tonight's show. And I could just feel like the spidey senses,
Yeah.
the all the intuition is just kind of heightened up. So I'm excited for tonight's show. I think we're going to have a great show. And I think we were talking about what we would talk about. And it was we were going to have the discussion about abilities and intuition and what does that mean for everybody, psychic abilities, mediumship. We're going to talk about our spidey senses is what I call it.
Right,
Spidey
right.
senses, what to look out for, how to pay attention to it, the ascension, the awakening, all of that, the soul expansion. I think it's going
Yeah,
to be phenomenal.
yeah. Speaking about awakenings, yeah, I just had my awakening about maybe under 6 months ago. And when that
Mhm.
happened, it was just amazing. And it was weird because, I was setting up for a show, setting up everything. I walk in, I have my camera on, I sit down in front of the camera, and I have white hair. I mean, white hair, and you could tell my hair's black, but my hair was
Yeah.
white. It freaked me out. Um, I ran into the house, looked in the mirror, and I was like, "Wait, what the heck just happened?" I came back in, nope. So, and I looked older too. It was really strange. And it was some other things that happened prior to that, and I called up my friend that's my mentor, and she just started laughing, and she's like, "Oh my god," I was telling her everything, and she said, "Rob, it finally happened." I was like, "What are you talking about?" She said, "You just had your awakening." And because I told her a couple of things about some
Mhm.
certain things, and she said, "I'm glad that it just happened." So she was tickled.
Well, I'm going to share with you because just the other day, as a joke, because we're right around the corner of Halloween. And so every year we dress up. And I was kind of going through my tickle trunk of, costumes. And I found this one wig that I used a couple years ago. And it's really ugly. It's super ugly, but it's not real short. So I just happened to be giving my dog a haircut. I was trimming her. She's a little Yorkie, and I was
Mhm.
shaving her down. And I put the wig on, and as a joke, I took a photo and I shared it. And I said, "Look what I did today, guys." And everybody believed it. They thought that I had clipped my hair because they knew I was clipping the dog's hair. The funny thing about this story was I had just meditated an hour prior to cutting my dog's hair. I was in meditation. So when I took the photo, I didn't think anything of it. I went to the kitchen with the most light, and somebody made a comment and says, "Oh, look at the orb on you." And I was like, "What orb? What orb?" So of course I had to put my kokum eyes on, my grandma eyes, and I looked at the photo, and the whole top of my head is pure white. And I said, "Shut up. No
Wow.
way." And I was just like, "Well, it's not an orb, but I got to tell you, I meditated prior to doing all of this, and I didn't even think it would be something you'd see, but you clearly see it. It looks like somebody powdered the top of my head white, but it's pure
Yeah.
brown. I took photos after and showed them, look, it's brown. So it was really mind blowing. And you just shared this, and I'm like, wow, that's 2 for 2 now. That's awesome.
Are you guys able to see the chats? Um, I don't know if
I
it's working.
can't see the chats.
Can't see, oh, okay.
It
Oh
might
no,
just be because we're in chat. Oh, I can see it now.
I'm
Angelica,
not.
how are you? It's good to see you. Oh, I know Angelica.
I'm not
Beautiful.
sure if the chats are working or not. I can't check my phone. I
Okay,
just want
well,
to make
I'm
sure
on my
this video
phone.
is working. I'm gonna check on YouTube really quick. Just bear with
Mhm.
me. I just want to make sure everything's working because we did have like a little hiccup that was really strange.
It's not strange when you have two, people on that are very
When a little
intuitive or
hiccup
mediumship,
really
right?
strange, right?
Yeah. It's not strange when you have to. Ooh,
Okay.
I
Yeah.
forgot about the
Okay.
food.
Now it's working. Whatever happened, it
Brilliant.
worked. It worked.
I see some
Anyway,
of our regulars I haven't seen in a while, like Angelica's in the house. Hello, Angelica, I see you. Patricia's here. There are some of these guys I've seen in the past on other radio shows, and even on my private page, my Facebook public page. Sorry, my Joni White Buffalo Facebook page. So it's really
nice.
nice to see everybody jumping on here. It's
Yeah, it
awesome.
is. Speaking of Yorkies,
Carrie here.
yeah, I had a Yorkie myself. They're amazing little dogs,
Mine looks bald. She's got this big head of hair because she's only 8 months, so she's not used to the clippers. So I
right?
couldn't touch up her face yet. So she's got this big furry face, but the rest of her body is shaved down. So she looks like a little rat with a big head.
Yeah. That's so funny.
But we had to because I got her from Auntie Karen up north,
Mm,
and the undercoat of the Yorkies, and I'm sure you know this, can get really dense.
right.
And no matter how much I tried to brush her out, I just couldn't get through some of it. So unfortunately, I had to shave her, and I was like, "Oh my god, my dog is bald." But she's so
So
cute.
our guest tonight is Joni White Buffalo. Um, so do you want to do like a little intro of yourself?
Yeah. So, as some of you might know, and those of you who don't, my name is Joni White Buffalo, and I am currently on Facebook as Joni White Buffalo. You can look me up. I do live shows every Saturday, 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we do live free mini reads and we do chats, and then we bring in people to talk about all kinds of things paranormal, whether it's about Bigfoot or aliens, Sasquatch, paranormal hauntings, all that fun stuff. Um, so I'm Indigenous, and I was born into a family who all have their own unique abilities. And growing up, I had a bit of a hard time working with my abilities. I always thought that this was something you couldn't talk about. And culturally, we were put into, Catholic systems. And so by the time I was 12, I stopped talking about spirit, all the spirits that I would sit with and see. So it was only later in my life, in my early 20s, that I started connecting with my abilities and working with the public. And I'm now in my mid 40s, and I've been doing this job for over 30 years, and I'm loving it. And it's just brought me nothing but joy because I feel that it's important that people know that it's not just select few who are born with abilities. We all are. We're
Mhm.
all first born with abilities. It's as we grow, what happens in your life to shut that window, to close that veil, to put those spirits to quiet, So as we grow, we've all heard the stories how children very young see spirit, and then they hit a certain age and it's kind of like it starts to get quiet. And by the time they're 15, they don't even think about it, right?
Right.
So we're going to talk a bit about that tonight because I think it is important that people understand you don't have to be born with a special DNA to have abilities. I mean, we all have it. The only difference between someone like myself and others is that I've kind of kept mine open my whole life. And I think
Yeah.
it's partly due because my cultural upbringing and family members of mine who are also gifted have kept theirs open. So that helps. That helps, right?
It
But yeah,
does.
I do this work and I love it. I've worked on cold cases, missing cases. I've worked around the world. Um, I enjoy what I do. I think it brings a lot of comfort and healing and love, and most importantly, education. Right? I think it's important that people understand and learn about it to whatever comfort level they have. You know, some people don't want it. That's okay too, right?
Yeah.
And that's how I work.
No, absolutely. And the funny thing is, one of my best friends growing up, he was, indigenous, and also so his mom I walked in the door the very first time I met the family. I walked in the
Mhm.
door, and his mom just heard, like she was just staring, and her jaw was kinda, like, dropped. And then she said, "Come here for a minute." And he was like, "Mom, just leave him alone." She was like, "No, come here." So she grabs my hands and she said, "Here, sit down." So we sat down at this little table, and she basically did a reading, and
Mhm.
she was telling me a lot about my background, and I'm like, "No, that's not true." And she was like, "You'll understand it once you start growing up." Because
Mhm.
she told me that I had abilities, and I was like, "I never talked about it." She said, "You see
Mhm.
spirit, this and that," and I did, but, at that time, I was still kind of fighting it a little bit, but she helped me open up, and she said, "Look, you just have to embrace it. It's gonna scare you for a little bit, but don't be afraid. This is part
Mhm.
of this is who you are." So she helped me work through the fear because I was afraid. Anytime I'd go in a haunted location, I would freak out because it felt like I had it's almost like you have an anxiety attack is basically
Yeah.
how I feel. And that anxiety would just scare me. So
Mhm.
anytime I would feel that, I knew what I was walking into. And then I would say, "Are there ghosts here?" And people would look at me like, "How do you know?" Like, so yeah, that's basically how I started.
What's great is that what I have seen in the last year, and to talk a bit about what you're sharing, in the last 10 years, even 15 years ago, it was not very common to sit with somebody and talk openly about abilities you have or what we call gut feelings.
Mhm,
That science's word. That's the word science will come up with intuitiveness,
mm,
your spiritual tug, right? So in the last 10, 15 years, we have had such an expansion that people now are more and more open to talking about the experiences they've had to whether it's through dreams, which are very valid. Dreams are very important. They're often the first stepping stone to awakening with your abilities. And having that conversation today openly, and that wasn't a thing even 15 years ago. People were hiding or didn't understand it. Much like yourself, you probably your whole life have been connecting with spirit, not even realizing it. And after you hit a certain age, you kind of start to think, I had a gut feeling about something. I followed it and bang, I was dead on.
mhm,
Or I walked into this space and I got this anxious anxiety feeling and I felt like there was spirit here. And then the person said, "Oh, so and so just died here last year in the very spot you're standing."
mhm,
So it's these little validations that we tend to seek out until we start to feel more comfortable in our own skin and
mhm,
understanding that, you know what? It's true. I do have something. I need that validation and it's backing me up. I feel like I can do this. So with that said, um, I mean the validations I needed was beyond crazy. Like I had to see it on the news. And
mhm,
that was my first time that I publicly went to the local police department due to the urging of my fellow workers. And because I had talked about dreaming about a woman who had been murdered in a tragic way. And she gave me so much information spiritually. So when I talked about it, days later, it came out in the newspaper. And they said, go to the police, go to the police. So I did. And the police literally interrogated me because they thought I had something to do with it. That's how dead on I was. So when I walked out of there, I'm like, "Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, I'm going to jail." I was
right,
so freaked out, I couldn't believe it, but not all of us have to have such a big validation, although it'd be nice, right? But it was kind of like, "Okay, now what? Now what do I do with this?"
right,
Because you sit there and you ask yourself, "Okay, I dreamt of a loved one passing away and they died almost identical to what I saw." Or maybe
right,
it was exactly the same, but the wrong person. So what do you do with it? And I think the question that in itself is what haunted me since I was a child. You know, my little sister passed, and that's what haunted me forever because I always felt like I could have done something to prevent her death. And now today I understand it as, no, this was a part of our path. We all have this path. And it's just validation showing you this was just more to get you ready, to have you aware that this event is going to take place. And it's not about you doing something about it. It's you just being aware, having that awareness, right?
Right.
Maybe even giving us like today, you know, one of my brothers just recently passed, and I wrote about it a year prior, almost to the date of
Wow.
this dream I had, and he died exactly like the way I saw it. And what that told me was that's my 1 year time that I have to make the most of that time I had with him. Wasn't about telling him, wasn't about trying to stop it. It was let's make the most of it because we have this short time. So anyhow, what I love about society is that people are beginning to open up. This is becoming more of a regular conversation.
Mhm.
I love that people are becoming more inquisitive and wanting to learn about it. And I'll tell you a little bit when you get like an anxious feeling, there's two things. So the first one is you do a self check. Is there something that you feel anxious about? Are you having anxiety because something's occurring in your life? If you can rule that out and realize, nope, there's nothing going on, then the next one is what is making me feel anxious? And oftentimes, if it's not you, it means spirit is very close. And we have like an auric band around our body. So when
Right.
spirit comes through that band, our body senses that change in the energy. And our
Right.
human body has what are those responses? Fight, flight,
Mhm.
or stay stiff in fear. So when you feel that anxiousness, you can say either in your mind or out loud, and you can say, Spirit, I can tell you're here. I can feel it. Please back off just a little bit. And you'll notice immediately your energy will shift and the anxiety will start to dissipate.
Yep.
And that's how you know.
But see, that's where I knew where the anxiety or what the anxiety was. So
Mhm,
it took time. And then I learned how to control it and say, okay, it's just somebody's here. And then that's when I just kind of like open myself up. And then I could start
mhm,
feeling, okay, there's a little boy here. Um, and
mhm,
then I could start saying he's over here. And it's just weird how I'm able to do that now. And I could just say, hey, there's somebody walking behind us. Turn around, take a
mhm,
picture. Let me know what you get. Or,
mhm,
we'll just hold the camera up over our shoulder, take a picture. Or sometimes I'll just turn around and walk backwards. And then I said,
mhm.
look, he's hiding around the corner and there's a male. So when we turn in the corner, just turn around, snap a picture, and you're going to capture. And it's been
Absolutely.
unbelievable on how many things we've captured on camera when I'm able to do that. And people
Yep.
just like, "How do you do that?" And how do you get so much, pictures? How do you get so many good pictures? They gotta be fake. You have to be faking it.
Mhm,
And I'm like, "How am I gonna fake a video?" Throw it through an analyzer, see if there's any editing. There's no editing in that. Then they're like, "This is too real, too good to be true." This is like,
mhm.
yeah, it's not real. And they
If
don't
I
believe.
could if I could, I'd show you a video I just captured like 2 days ago in my office. I was sitting with a classmate doing homework and because we're in class right now, and I said, "You know, I feel somebody coming in," and even my dog alerted to spirit coming in and like literally nose pointed. The little Yorkie, she nose
Mhm,
pointed. So I took a picture of it and I communicated to spirit. I'm like, "If you're really here, let me see you. I'm going to, take a picture." And as I turn on my camera, we caught a full it looks like an embodiment trying to develop and pass through the camera lens.
mhm.
And everybody's like, "Oh my god." I'm like, "Wasn't that fantastic?" It
Right.
was fantastic. And it's not common, you get it all the time, but when it happens, bang on, wow. And I'll share that with you after the show.
Okay. So, you hit on something that just really resonated with me,
Mhm,
because actually we were just talking about this. It's like, okay, you said, what are you gonna do with it? It's because, there's a lot of people will capture certain things and
mhm,
they'll show it off, and it's like, okay, but that's only like a very small snippet of what you need to do. What more are you gonna do with it? I don't know.
mhm.
People don't know what to do with things. And I think that that's why so many things are so stagnant is
Yes.
because they don't dig deeper into what they just caught or, they just move on to the next thing. You got to dig deeper. That's only the
Mhm.
part of it, because something or somebody wants you to tell their story.
Yes, absolutely. When we find that we have little things starting off, it's exciting, it's a little scary. I mean, I still get scared today, and I've been doing this for a long, long time, and I have to
Mhm.
be honest, I don't think that fully goes away. Um,
No.
I'll still have spirit come in, and sometimes I'm like, "Oh, hi," and it's okay, and then other times I'm like, "What the heck was that?" And it freaks me out. But I've learned that when you have these experiences, the first important thing to do is just observe. First thing
Right.
you do. Don't
That's
filter it, don't second guess it, just observe. Take in stock, how are you feeling at that moment? What are you thinking about? Where are you? What's your environment like? What's going on around you? All these little things, they mean something. So when they come in and they notice that you are aware, that you are beginning to go, "Hey, I saw you," or "Hey, I don't know if I can see you, but I can feel like someone's really sad right now. Is that you?" When they realize that you're connecting or trying to connect, oh, the activity will spike up.
oh,
They
yeah.
will definitely come in more. And it really is just they really feel the need to be heard. They want to connect with someone. Oftentimes it's just they're sad and lonely. They're not ready to fully transition, or they have and they want to come in and help you know? So
Right.
definitely it's like, what do we do with these abilities or what do we do with these experiences as they start to develop? And people don't know what to do. You're right. And it becomes stagnant. But when
Mhm.
you start finding purpose in it and you're helping give that spirit purpose, then you're going to start learning the language of spirit. Because
Right.
people are like, how do you know what spirit says? And I'm like, well, there's like a unique language that spirit has to develop with you. Because listen, we're humans. We have vocal cords. We can speak. We can make sound, but when
Right.
you're in spirit, you no longer have that physical body. So what happens is they're trying to communicate with us and they're like, ah! Now, sometimes they can verbally manipulate enough sound that we hear something, but the easiest way for them is telepathy.
Right.
They will often send you signs and symbols that pop into your mind's eye, right? So it's like that's why I say dreams are powerful because to them, when you're dreaming, you're actually traveling the spirit world. You're facing a blank canvas and they're painting it for you to show you, right?
Right. It was funny because you were just saying something. When I turned my head, somebody whispered in my ear, they went, "Hey."
Yeah,
And it was kind
and
of
it's not common. They don't get to be able to physically say it all the time, but when they do, they could sound so quiet like this. But in
right.
spirit world, they're shouting. They're
Right.
shouting to be heard, right?
Yeah. It's funny because, like like, one of my abilities is to, astral project.
Mhm,
So, like you were saying, your dreams, my dreams are very, very vivid, like me watching a movie.
mhm,
Um, so one time I just had an experience, and I walked into a friend's house. Then
mhm.
well, actually, it was a coworker. So I told her some things about what I saw. I said, "Hey, I had a dream about your house about you last night." And she goes, "What?" She goes, "Oh God." And I said, "No, it wasn't like that." And so anyway, I said, "You guys weren't home, but your door was open." And I said, "There was people walking around your home, blah, blah, blah." And I kind of told her what her house looked like. I walked through the whole house. I walked through, the hallway. And I said, you walked through a door and then that led to the back of the house. And she
Mhm,
just got quiet. And I said, "What's the matter?" She said, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, you described my whole house, but there was one thing you said that nobody knows except me, the previous owners, and the contractors." And I
mhm,
said, "What's that?" She said, "You're coming to my house at lunch. We're gonna take, one of our other coworkers, we're gonna go grab food, and then we'll go to our house and eat." So I walked in and I was just like, "Oh my god. Oh my." I'm walking like this is exactly what I saw. I saw the same color couch. I
mhm,
described the way her furniture was arranged, described her furniture, described the mantle, what was on the mantle. Everything was verbatim. And then she said,
mhm.
"Okay, come this way." And then we walked. I was like, "Wait, where's the wall with the door?" She said, "That's exactly it." She said,
Mhm.
"See that beam right there? That's where the wall was. That was a support beam. That support beam held the door, and that led to the back." And I was like,
Yeah.
"Holy crap." And she said, "And the funny thing is, we're talking about selling the house. What you saw was an open house. Not
Mm.
maybe you saw the open house in the past when
Mhm.
she was walking through, I mean, when before she bought the house."
Mhm.
She said, "Because, yeah, that's how they had it." They said the door was open. A lot of the furniture that we had, we bought it with the house, and I was like, "Oh my god." But, yeah, I described everything. Even the back
That's
house, I didn't know I had
amazing.
a back house.
Yep, that's amazing. I mean, that's kind of like how I do some of the investigations I've done in the past when working on cold cases, is I will astral project. You know, I don't even have to leave my home. I'll have the investigators often will connect with me, and then I say, "Okay, you know what? Let me do my bit here, and I'll get back to you." And it could be no more than an hour, sometimes 2 hours, where I'm sitting quiet, and I do the projection. Right?
Right,
So it's called remote viewing, or I'll do astral projection. And so when I get to that and I talk to them, they're like, "How did you know that?" I'm like, "I have never left Canada in almost 20 years. Like, there's no way I would know like what this would look like or this would look like." And it's not something that they had photographed or shown to the public. Do you know what I mean?
mhm,
It's not something you can easily Google. You know, so I had, and that's the hard part, is sometimes you have to really go out of your way to provide proof that they know that you're not just some charlatan, like you're actually doing the work.
right,
So when you have that ability to be able to, whether you dream it, you astral project, or you do remote viewing, it's when you get to have that validation, being in that space, or someone showing you photos of what you talked about and having that there, you're like, "Oh my god." You know, like I still have oh my god moments, even though I've been doing this for over 20 years, 30 years. I'm like, "I can't believe I just did that." You know, you still get
right,
shocked at times, right? But
right,
it's amazing because it just further shows that there's so much more than just what we see here. And the best thing that I can talk to with this is I always tell people, go watch that movie Steven Spielberg did called Avatar. Think of yourselves like Avatar, like in this space. You know, when you go to spirit, you come out of that avatar. Because that's all we're really using is avatars, our bodies, right?
right,
In a way, it limits us, but in another way, it challenges us. And this, the reason we're here with these physical bodies and these challenges is to help push us towards soul expansion, right? Through challenges,
right.
experiences. So it's
So
fantastic when you can do that.
so let me ask you this. So at one
Sure.
point, because I know as psychics, um, it's like you second guess yourself. And
Absolutely.
you kinda doubt, okay. So you might sense it's a little boy, right? And then you're like, "No, it's more I think it's a girl." So your first intuition's telling you it's a little boy, and then you switch and say, "Oh, it's a little girl." I don't know what it is, but I think I think you start second guessing yourself. So you don't go by your gut instinct, you start switching it up, and then you
Mhm.
start doubting yourself. And then that's I think when you start shying away from I think
Mhm.
mastering your craft per se?
Mhm. Absolutely. I mean, even still today, there are moments where I'll sit with someone. Like I got a gentleman here right now who's just really pushing on me. He really wants to do a read with somebody in the chat. So I'm just like, hold on a minute. When we start second guessing ourselves, and that does happen, that will, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, I feel that that's something that will continuously happen throughout your life, no matter how much validation you get. There was a time where I second guessed myself doing a case where there was a little boy who had been missing for a few years, and through my remote viewing and communicating with the investigators, the dogs searched cadaver dogs. I pointed them in a direction and said, there's going to be foothills and you're going to see a horse ranch right next to where this child will be found. And so it was a few hours, and they ended up finding the little boy, literally, like I said. But for those few hours, I started second guessing what I was getting. And I started to really feel the pressure. And the second guessing comes more from our human side of us,
Right.
the analytical mind, the scientist. I'm a scientist at heart. I love to really challenge spirit. And trust me, they've had a trying time with me and they continue to. But I'm one of those people where like I just got to do the mental check, like make sure everything checks off. I'm okay. And you make sure you get your mental health checks regularly to make sure the cheese hasn't slid off the cracker. You know what I mean?
Right.
But when doing this, I think you'll always have that second in you because we often have that fear of, oh my God, judgment. What if I make a mistake? I'm being
Right.
judged. So that
Right.
judgment is the biggest thing that is our stumbling block. And I don't think you can completely get rid of that fear. However, it's something you work with. Now, on the other side of that coin, and I will say this publicly and out loud, I have come across a few people that I've worked with and try to help them open to their abilities. And there's been a few that I've seen that, years down the road, I, come across what they're doing in the public eye. And I'm like cringing because I'm like, oh my God, ego slipped in so deep with this person. And that's something that we all have to take an account for, be aware of. Ego is healthy, but you need to keep the balance. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
When you let ego run too far in front of you and you don't
Mhm.
keep that in balance, then you can really go down that dark road. And that's where second guessing really starts jumping in,
Yeah.
right? So I think it's safe to say when you work with this ability or any kind of ability or anything in life, really, follow the laws of nature.
Mhm.
It's the ebb and flow, the giving and the taking, the balance. That is so key to anything you do. I promise you guys, if you keep on doing the meditation, you do the grounding work, and you just continue working from a place of love, you don't have to second guess yourself as much because you'll start to realize, you know what? I know I'm doing this in a good way. I am starting to second guess myself, but I'm going to trust what I'm doing because I'm doing it in a good way. And oftentimes you'll get validated, may not be right away, but you will get validated. That
Yeah.
that validation spirit will always want to validate for you, right?
Right. And it's funny because you talk about ego, and that's the thing that just really turns me off. And I've seen so many people, grow egos over the years. Um,
Mhm.
and it's funny because somebody and I had a major fallout years ago, and it's probably about 5 years ago.
Mhm.
Um, just before COVID hit, he reached out to me, and that's about when I started doing my show. Maybe it was about 2 years ago. Maybe it was, yeah, about 2 years ago. Anyway, he reached out to me after seeing my show, and he just said, "Rob," he reached out to me on Facebook, on Messenger, and he messaged me and he said, "Hey, I know we had our problems in the past, but I
Mhm.
just wanted to reach out, can you give me a call?" And he said, "It's all water under the bridge." And I was like, "Oh God." Right? But I said, that took a lot to reach out. So I'm just going to call. So
Mhm.
we talked, and he just said, "You know what, Rob?" He said, "You haven't changed." He said, "You're the same person. You haven't grown in ego. You started doing your show. You have a big following, this and that." And he said, "You didn't let it go to your head." He said, "It's pretty cool." And
Mhm.
we talked everything out. And then he goes, "Oh, by the way, I want to get a ghost box from you." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And, so I sent one, and we've been talking since. And he said, just stay grounded." And he said, "I'm just so proud of you for staying grounded." And he said, "So many of other people that we know have just gotten egos." And he said, "We can't even deal with them anymore." And I said, "I know. It's sad."
Absolutely. And I'll tell you, like, when we talk about those connections we have with people,
Mm,
and if they've fallen apart, sometimes they need to fall apart. And I mean, look at the season we're in now. We're in the season of fall. In my indigenous teachings, we have to look at everything with reason. So like the friendship itself, there was a falling out. And there's a reason for that. We may not ever understand what that reason is, but you follow it and you say, okay, you know what? Maybe this needed to happen. And you went your way and this person went their way. And during that time, because you separated, there were teachings that you received, not just from the falling apart, but the life experiences you had around you until you met again, right? Had that person not left your circle, there's a good chance the teachings you needed to learn and go through would not have occurred. So I always tell people when we look at our cultural teachings, the medicine wheel, and I use the medicine wheel in everything,
Mm,
we're in the season of fall. And so this is about the teaching of letting things go, letting things fall apart, seeing the beauty. And we have right now at our last eclipse in Scorpio season. What? I am a Scorpio. And so it's going to talk about allowing things to finally let go and seeing the beauty and letting go. We just had it on October 25th, the last eclipse of the year. So, I mean, this all ties in. When we look at the beauty of it and we see the complexities of what it is to play tug of war with the universe, you're going to end up with bleeding hands, right? Learn to let go. The universe is always going to have your interest to the higher and greater good. And what needs to happen will happen, and there will always be an opportunity for healing to occur between you and whoever you fell out with. Now, whether you have a makeup relationship or you just agree to not see each other but on friendly terms, whatever that might be, it will always be to the higher and greater good. And with fall season, it reminds us that tree, those flowers, they all grew beautifully for the summer, but during the winter, things had to change, things had to fall away, and they needed to go to sleep for a while. Because by
mhm,
next spring, we'll come back 10 times bigger, 10 times stronger, that much more beautiful, right?
right. Mhm,
So it's beautiful when you have that. And ask yourself, what are the teachings you needed to see from that experience? Right? And those are things that you can sit with, and that will probably play itself out for the rest of your life, and you'll see it mirror in other relationships. So, for example, you might have a friend 10 years from now, and you have a similar falling out with this person like you did with the last one, but there's something slightly different. But you keep saying, this reminds me of the last time,
mhm,
right? So there's a teaching in it. It was maybe preparing you for what's going to occur today. So
right.
there's so many beautiful things that you can look at it from. This eclipse full moon right now in Scorpio is all about stepping back and observing the lessons or the teachings that you've been looking at all year from a different point of view now, a different lens. And that it's okay to say, you know what? It's okay if I didn't succeed. It's okay if I didn't get things done. It's okay if this person doesn't agree. I'm looking at the beauty of walking back and letting it go, because like that saying, what's meant to be will come back, right? Let
Right.
a bird go, will come back. So the teaching will always come back, right?
No,
Someone was
absolutely.
happy free. Oh, my brother's in the chat. I
Dude,
almost said it tonight, Rob. We were talking about, what was the word? Telepathy. You know
right.
that my brother Rob here in chat keeps getting me to say telepathetic. I've done some investigations and live reads, and I'm talking with someone. I was at a group reading not long ago, and my husband was with me. And I turned to this large group of people I was doing a read for, and we were there like 4 hours. And I said, "Yeah, Spirit likes to talk with telepathic." And then instead of saying telepathic, I said telepathetic abilities. And I was like, "Damn you, Rob! Say it enough around me," and it became my language. Oh my God!
He
Hi,
just said it
Rob.
in the
Yeah,
chat.
he's here. I know. He's too much. I love him. I love him.
That's so funny. But no, it was kind of funny because you kind of pointed something out to me, before we came on, and
Mhm.
it was funny because, like I was saying, my friend's mom did a reading on me, and she said the same exact thing that you did, and I was like, "Wait, what?" But, this is before I knew, my ancestry.
Mhm.
So, yeah, it was just, with my great-great-great-grandfather being a medicine man. That was
But it's because those teachings walk with you, right? It's that indigenous culture. It doesn't matter what culture your background is. You can be Swahili, it don't matter. It's when you have those ancestors and that culture, even, today we're becoming aware and understanding that there has been a massive and I don't want to get too political, but there was a massive change in history where they
mhm,
took a lot of, and I can only speak to this point of view at the moment, you guys, so don't come for me, but for the indigenous point of view, like residential school survivors, 60 scoop, all of that conversation. So a lot of us lost our culture or our
mhm,
knowledge of our family and our history. And that might be just one side of many sides of the coin, why we don't know some of our background, right? So when you grow through life, you might come across someone who is what we call a seer, right? Or a medicine woman. Like that's what they would call me. And exactly like Joni H says, blood memory. Absolutely. You could have someone sitting with you who's got abilities to the surface and they can immediately get that knowledge because that's universal. It's around you, it's with you. It's almost like a blood memory. It's with you. So someone like myself or your friend's mother who sat with you for a few minutes and says, "Oh my God, I know about your great grandfather, that this person was a medicine person." We're not just pulling that out of the hat. Not every indigenous family is medicine people, right? They're not medicine men and women. You know, some were healers, some were berry pickers. Shout out to the berry pickers, by the way.
Right.
But there's like so many different things. So to have now two different people who didn't know much of you to sit here and say, "Hey, your great grandfather's a medicine man is with you." And
Mhm.
it's because he's with you in that time. He's been with you from day one. So
Right.
you may not have that knowledge of the ancestral background or the cultural understanding, but they do.
Yes, Mosasaurus is a marine reptile that lived about 65 to 70
Are you
million
hearing
years ago.
this?
Yeah, what is that?
Okay, my Alexa just went off, but my Alexa, I renamed it.
I don't know that one.
It doesn't go by the name Alexa. I called it Ziggy. Ziggy,
Sorry,
what time is it?
it's 10:45 p.m.
You see, I
Yeah.
can say Alexa all I want. It won't turn on. I renamed it so it wouldn't accidentally turn on.
Oh,
We got spirit in the house. It's
you
playing with
didn't say
electronics.
you didn't say Ziggy at all.
I
None of us,
know.
neither one of us did. So
But you see how we were talking about ancestral knowledge and the connection? We're talking about spirit. Your great great grandfather's with you right now. When we have spirit come in the room, they will play with electronics. Look at how you and I first started talking before the show started. Both
it
of our
was
screens went crazy,
yeah,
right?
yeah. So we were talking about a glitch at the beginning of the show, and when I was asking about the chats, we were talking, and then all of a sudden, both of our cameras
But what
just
were
like
we,
went crazy.
but what were we talking about when that happened?
We were talking about
Your
backgrounds.
grandfather and
Yeah,
all of this, right? And see, tonight we're just talking about this now. My hands are here. I ain't doing nothing. And
right.
my Zig, oh, I don't want to say, oops, I accidentally said it. But Alexa's sitting in the corner there with a different name, and it just went off on its own.
Yeah, that was a
So
trip.
that spirit, that's, yeah, Rachel says trippy. Absolutely.
It was.
But that's how spirit works. They play with electronics.
Yeah, because the funny thing is like Joni said, she called my background and I didn't even say anything. That was like one of the first things that she said. She was like, looked at me and she said, wait. And then we started talking about my background. It was really strange.
It's just, it's because when we talk about universe, there is a whole space. It's all knowledge. It's right here. You reach for it, it's right there, you know. It's when you become aware of it and you have that knowing and how to access it and work with it, right? And so that comes with grounding, it comes with meditation, it comes with practice, it comes with being balanced, you know, working with self, having that soul expansion, all of those things together, you know what I mean? I love how she said that. She goes, I like to walk into someone's house and say, what's the value of pie? You know what? I'm gonna try that next time. I haven't done that. I love you too, Rob B3. You guys should go check out Rob B3. Oh, stop. I'll stop. I don't know if I'm allowed to say his channel or not, but
No, you
I love
can.
you, Rob. Yeah,
Yeah,
he
just promote
he's
whatever you
on
want.
you. Yeah, he's on YouTube, and it's called Dimensionals Encounter Paranormal. Woot woot! Shout out, Rob. He does his own investigations. He's phenomenal. I think they just wrapped up one. I didn't get to go on Facebook very much this week, Rob. I'm sorry, but I seen a little notification earlier tonight, and I was like, "Oh, right on. I guess he's done, and they're heading home." So I'm happy to see he's here. Yeah, it's my birthday.
You can share your page in the chats there if you want there, Rob.
Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you so much, Rob. To you,
Rob, do
Rob,
you
I'm
go
saying thank you.
I know there's so many Robs. Rob, do you go
Yeah.
by Rob or Robbie?
Shows the world can't handle another Rob. I know.
Yeah, there's already 2.
I often tease Rob all the time. I'm like, you know what? I wonder how the wife can handle you because you're a handful. And all the Robs I've ever met, you guys are all your own bag of nuts. Even Rob from Rob Paranormal with Nikki, another bag of nuts. Like, too funny, too funny. You
Well,
guys all
and
have a
Rob
great birthday.
yeah, Rob was gonna come on and kinda do an intro. We're gonna talk a little bit about the show, what we're gonna be doing, and he's
Mm-hmm.
just having really bad migraine. So, Rob, get well. Hope the doctor appointment tomorrow goes well.
Oh, I'm a
And
migraine sufferer big time. And I think the majority of people who go through migraines regularly, like myself, part of it's going to do with the health and
mhm,
with weather. That definitely plays a big part. But I also think when you have too much spiritual download and not enough human brain to hold it all in, you know what I mean? Where does it go? So you got to constantly like be that funnel and let it just go through you. Because when you don't, you get clogged up, the brain will start to hurt. That's just my take on it, but I notice every time I do reads, groups, shortly during or immediately after, I have a massive migraine.
right?
Oh, Carl
So,
Zimmerman. I wonder if he's related to my other friend, Al Zimmerman. Nice to meet you. Sorry, I just
Carl
saw his tweet.
Carl, are you related to Al?
Or Rob. Cool.
We'll find out. Anyway,
So, I don't know. Did we want to talk about something else or I can't remember. We'll have to call you Rob D. That's cool. That's what we'll call you,
um,
Rob D.
well, you were saying that you had a feeling like somebody was coming to you for a reading, possibly, in the chats?
Yes. So he stepped back. So thankfully he's very kind and he's stepping back. But there is an elderly male here that talks about an up and coming birthday for December. So I'm not sure yet who in chat this connects to, but I feel like I got to talk about December being an important month. He's been gone for some time. I want to say 10 years minimum because it does feel like it's been a bit of time. Um, he talks about passing from congestion of the heart and the lungs because I feel like my lungs is breathy, like very wet when I breathe. So I got to talk about that. I'm just calling him forward. I'm just kind of listening in for him. So he makes me want to understand. I got to talk to a female here in the chat. So if anybody can connect to this, I can definitely sit with you for a few moments live on air if you guys want. Papa Charles, Angelica says. I'm not yet sure. I'm just waiting for him to give me. It might be him because I do have a Charles here, but I don't yet know if they're connected, Angelica. No, Karen, I'm sorry. It's not a Jack. He's got two names. I'll tell you that. It sounds like his name would have been Al Joseph or Joseph Al, or he has a name that someone who's born today has been named after. Because whenever I get the two-sided coin, it usually represents that I have either a twin in life that's still living, or someone has taken on my name and I have two names, meaning I have one name and the living person has a name. And they connect to the month of December. Joni H. Okay. So 3 people in December. I wonder, so Sandy, I will say this. The gentleman with the two names and the December connection, he makes me also understand that there was an anniversary in September. Okay. There was some connection to an anniversary that occurred in September. So whether it's a wedding anniversary, a death anniversary, he's making me feel like there's anniversary and celebrations, and this is what he wants to connect to. And there's a birthday coming up now, October, November, because I see happy birthday and blowing out the candles. And he's making me he's got quite a sense of humor. Like if you fell down the stairs, he wouldn't say, "Oh, are you okay?" Instead, he's like, "Look, you dented my stairs." Like that's the kind of humor he's giving me. So dry. September 15th, maybe. I feel like it's a two named person. December 7th. Yeah, and it doesn't feel like Christmas, you guys. So you know what might be happening then tonight? We have so all three people, Sandy, Joni, and Angelica all can connect to this. So we might be having what's called a piggyback reading. So your grandfathers, fathers, your loved ones are coming in together because they all have a similar message for you guys. Okay. Kathy Newman, I feel like there's a job opportunity coming up for you right now or moving up in the job field because there's promotion, promotion, promotion to Kathy Newman. John Joseph went by Jack. Wow. Well, Karen, we might have piggyback going on here. But I will tell you this. Carl's like, LOL. I will tell you this. They are around. They want to thank you for an incredible time shared with them, an incredible life. Says, continue being the life of the party like I did. Because he's making me feel like there's not enough laughter. Like it got quiet and people kind of like settled down. And he goes, do I got to bring my energy back in here? Do I got to hype it up? So he's like, please put on the news. I miss watching my 6 o'clock news. So there's something about watching TV every single day at 6 o'clock. Got to watch it. And it's the news because I feel like I can hear the news anchor. I am newbie. Hello, Christy.
Hi, Christy.
So then it wouldn't be for you. But when we have loved ones that come forward and they do piggyback, the ultimate purpose of their coming forward is letting you know that they're around, right? They want to validate that they're still a part of your life. They still are here. They visit with you. They sit with you. Okay. And just know that you're so loved. I will tell you this. He says he visited you in a dream just days before his passing, or sorry, just days after his passing. And it was like just days before you try to communicate or talk to him or try to do the telephone call or you try to reach him and speak to him and it didn't happen. So it keeps making me feel like there was a missed conversation or missed telephone call and is saying, it's okay. I understand. I get the conversation now. So I hope that helps. I'm going to break my connection and send it back to you guys.
Well, thank you for that. That was pretty amazing. So I just shared a link to our private group. So if you guys want to join our private group, click on the link there and it will send me a request and I'll approve that request once I receive it. Because I know that there's a bunch of newbies in the group. I posted a lot of things in there. So, well, I haven't in a while, but I'll get back to it. No, but that was amazing.
Thank you.
You know what was weird? I was picking up on the gentleman too. More of a visual of what he looked like. Um, and I was laughing because I was starting to giggle because, or laugh to myself because, yeah, he seemed like he was a funny character.
Were you picking up some of the same similar as I was talking about it? You were like, oh my God, I got that too.
Yeah.
You will. And yes, Angelica, he kind of looks a little bit like a Santa Claus. I
Kind
feel
of.
like at the time of his passing, though, he might have lost more weight just before his passing. But in life, generally, he had a bit of a belly on him.
Yeah, I saw him. I think I got like 2 images of him like being a little bit bigger, but then he lost quite a bit of weight, but he still had the balding head.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
gray, and yeah, but he was thin-haired on top.
And he had very kind eyes. So I can see the softness of the eyes. And he keeps making me feel like he connects to going to the ocean or loving to eat ocean food, like crabs, lobsters, fishes, really loves that. And he's with somebody who served in the service. So he's met up with someone in spirit who served. Oh my goodness. Okay. So I feel like there's a son that passed away as well. And then the wife is there now. So he's like, I'm here with the wife. And he's like, oh Lord, I'm here with the wife. And he's just making it like a joke. Oh, I'm here with the wife. So when we connect with spirit, and if you're sitting with somebody who's intuitive or connects to spirit, you will pick up on similar messages, if not the exact same, and then may get something similar or a little more. Because like when I do live reads, I've been on live paranormal before, and a few times, and I've come on with my friend Lisa, and Lisa's another medium, and we'll do reads for people. And I find that when we work together, and it's not common, we find a lot of people you can work well with.
Purple Dahlia?
Yes, it is. That's my sister.
So
when I sit with her, we read, and she will pick up certain things that I didn't get, but then we'll pick up things together.
Check this out. This is going to be weird. I was just going to mention this. So Lisa and I, we did this type of show before where we did, and Rob and Nikki were on. So we
Mhm,
basically, the three of us, they were in Gettysburg. Lisa was in Massachusetts. I was here. We
mhm,
did a read. Lisa and I both astro projected to the location. I saw
mhm.
Lisa and I said, "Oh my god," and this has never happened. I've never astral projected while I was awake. That was a first. So I slacked Lisa, or I sent her a private message and I said, "Wait a minute." Oh no, I did on my phone. I said, "Wait, were you just at the location and this is what I saw?" And she goes, "Oh my god." She said, "You want to know something weird?" She said, "I looked over and I saw tennis shoes and jeans." And she told me what kind of shoes I had on, and I said, "Yep, that was me." And we both were just, like, in shock. She goes, "Rob, people have tried to put me with other psychics, and I've never been able to do this." And she said, We this is the first time, like, we've done something like this, and this happened. You can ask her about it." She don't
Yep,
And then
I believe
kinda
it.
like the same thing with you, I was like, "Wait a minute, this has never happened to me before," where I started picking up on what other people were seeing. I have never been able to do that before.
That's what I mean is like you will sit with I've sat with quite a few mediums in my time, and although most of them are great, we don't it doesn't always jive, or it's almost like we're on two different cars. But when I sit with Lise, we're both in the same car. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So her and I for years, like she's worked with me, she's studied with me. I've helped show her certain things. She's a natural medium, and I think I did more of a validating her than anything, and we continue to grow together, and we've done shows together, and it was just, and I've never had that opportunity with anybody else to have that same experience, because other mediums I've sat with, they've been great, but you know, not like Lisa and me. And me and her, like, we're thick as thieves, me and her.
Right.
So it's awesome. And if you are doing the same with her and then you had the same with me now, like that's just further validation, right?
Yeah, but, when I started picking up on this, like I said, how I was saying, "Do you doubt?" I was just sitting there just like, and I started laughing because I wasn't even doubting myself. I just, was going with the flow, and then all of a sudden I
Hmm.
just started getting visions, but I didn't even doubt myself because I'm just watching you, and then I'm like, why am I getting this?" And that's why I started saying some of the things that I was. Like you said, you saw him a little bit bigger. I saw him where he
Hmm.
was a little bit thinner, but then I saw his hair, I saw his kind eyes. He just had a sense of humor. He was a very nice gentleman and very
Mhm.
funny,
And he does. He has a kind heart. He's
right?
very open. I feel like he also helped raise or take care of other people's children. To what capacity, I'm not sure. But he shows me there's a burial of three spots, or there should be a place of three people, and it would be him, a male, and a female. Now, it's almost like a family plot. Now, when we talk about spirit, as I'm connecting with him, they don't have division. There is no sense of division. So as he's sitting with me, if anybody, whether it's you or anyone in chat, have abilities or intuitive, they'll also start to get like a connection. They'll start to get a visual and start to get the same stuff that I'm getting. Maybe a few things might be slightly different, or they have a few things that I didn't get, or I'm getting things that they didn't get, but you have that same connection. That's typical. That happens, right? So
Mhm.
when you're sitting with someone and you're hearing them do the read and you're like, oh, I should have said something because I got that too. That's okay, because you yourself know it. You know what you were getting, you know what you were feeling, right? So that
Yeah.
just validates. Okay, Karen Moore, it does really feel like, so yes, fostering. I got to tell you, this feels to me like it's more than just one male coming through with messages. It's like a piggyback. I really feel that. I feel like this one male is coming forward with his message, but says, I also have a few people here with me that have the same relatable message. So when you're sitting and you're hearing something that relates to you, take it, because that's their way of saying, I'm here. I really wanted to squeeze my foot in the door and say hello and I love you, right? And this is our opportunity. I mean, wouldn't you? Right? I would. So take it. If it feels like, oh, this is them, take that. That's them. Right? You can
Right.
connect with them further and say, okay, give me some more sign. Let me know it's really you, dad. Let me know it's you, grandpa. Papa, right? And you say, send me a sign. So you'll either have a light flicker or you might have a feather like myself. Whew, I almost lost it. Earlier today in my office, feather just dropped, right? So you might have these little validations, finding a coin, hearing their favorite song come on, looking through family photos and finding a picture you haven't seen in 20 years, and it just happened to slide out from somewhere that, let's say you're holding a picture frame and you're taking the picture frame apart. And sometimes people will put one photo over another and then put it back in the frame, right? So you're taking a
Right.
picture frame apart, you're thinking of your loved one, and as you take the picture frame apart, the second photo drops and it's them. That's a sign, right? That's them, I'm telling you. So be open and aware to it because they're always wanting to communicate with us.
Yeah, so I've had people come to me, kinda like when I was asleep in a sleep state, um, and give me messages for people, and I didn't know
Mhm.
who these messages were for, and then I come across somebody, and they just start talking, we talk about, you know and then they tell me, "Yeah, um, this person said that her mom committed suicide," and she gave me the whole background, and
Mhm.
then I said, "Wait," and then I described her mom, and she said,
Mm.
"Yeah, that's that," and I said, I have a message for you," and then I said a few things, and she just started crying,
Oh,
and
you facilitated a healing.
yeah, so anyway, so we hung out and we went on investigation together. I mean, it was weird how our paths crossed.
Mhm.
Um, and then, I asked so maybe a week went by, and I said, um I was in the shower, and I said, "Can you give me validation that that was you?" And I got the message that you needed me to get to your daughter, "Was that you?" And I said, "If that was you, give me a sign." And I'm in the shower.
Mhm.
All of a sudden, a penny drops. I hear something
Mhm.
drop, and I'm like, "What the hell is that? What was that?" And I look, and there's a penny. I pick it up, and it's super hot. I mean, that penny was super hot, and I was like
Yeah.
and I don't take hot showers. And
Mhm.
so I picked it up, and it was a shiny penny, and, so I called her, and I said, "What year did your mom pass?" Because it was a fairly recent penny. And she
Mhm.
told me, and I said, "I'm gonna send you something." The penny was from the year that she passed.
Mhm. That's
Good.
amazing. That's something that not many people would even think to look for, right? So
Right,
not only did spirit give you a validation that they were there by porting a coin to you, but you took it one step further and said, "Okay, a coin, I get it, that's spirit. Let's take a look at the date." Because
right,
that might be significant. And sometimes that's what we call messages lost in translation. People don't always check for the further, do you know what I mean? They
right.
kind of skim past it. But when you start getting better at seeing the messages, validating it, oh, they're going to start sending you more stuff. So I love that you were not only validating the coin, but you looked to the date even,
Right.
right?
'Cause
That might have played a significant role.
yeah, because, I mean, I'm like, what's a penny?" Or yeah, and I asked for a sign, but then I said, "Well, there's gotta be something special about this penny." So that's what made me
Mhm.
look at the date, and then I corresponded that with, "When did your mom pass?" And she told me, and I said, "I'm sending you something, and I'm gonna write a little note about how I got this penny, and look at the date."
Mhm.
So and
That's
she called me,
amazing.
and
I love
she was
when you
crying.
do that.
Yeah,
So what happened was, not only did you develop um, more of your sense of, okay, I've got this, and you're growing, you're having what I call a soul expansion and an experience, but you're developing your own language with spirit. And that's something a lot of people ask me is they go, how do you know what they say if you can't always hear their voice? And I said, you know what? We all know what a stop sign means. Around the world, we know what a stop sign means.
right,
But tell me, what does a fishing pole mean to you? It'll mean something to you different than what it means to me.
Mhm.
Because there might be extra things connected to seeing a fishing pole, not just fishing, but fishing pole might be for you a man and a son. And for me, it might be my mom used to make the joke, you know, fish those rich men in and get your cash. You
Right.
never know, right? So when you, I know it's a bad example, but this is what I mean is like you pay attention to the signs and symbols and how you feel, and you ask spirit, show it to me in a way that I understand it. And they will, right? So someone else might get a coin and say, oh yeah, 10 cents. They had a tattoo of the number 10 on their hand, you know,
Mhm.
that's going to mean something to them, but you wouldn't have known that because you said, hey, what does 10 mean to you? I
Right.
seen the 10 cent. And they'll say, I don't know about that, but I had a 10-cent coin, my loved one had tattooed. So
Yeah.
learning the language and what it means for you to decipher. And I always stress this, you guys, please trust me. Dreams are the very first step into acknowledging your abilities. I'm telling you, validate yourself by having those dreams, write it down in a journal or book, and you'll see in a short time something will happen. And you go, wait a minute. And you start, oh, and it's in your book, and you're freaking out, going, I can't believe I wrote that 6 months ago. And then you start to realize, okay, this is what this means for me, and this means for me. And when spirit sees that you've got that language down packed, it's like learning a new language. They're going to start sending it to you where you understand it and you can deliver it. So when you do that, you're also facilitating a healing for not just the living person that's here, it's also for the person in spirit and to the reader, the person who's doing the read, because it's helping heal your anxieties, your doubts, and starting to help you understand that, you know what, I can do this. And it helps, right? It shares with everybody. So dreams are first step. Second step is follow your intuition. I can't say it enough. Follow what science calls your gut feeling. When someone says to me, oh, am I psychic or medium? I said, you know what? There's no real proper word that I feel comfortable. I don't even feel comfortable saying I'm an evidentiary, medium, and psychic. It's just because it doesn't properly, say or diagnose what it is that we do, right? That's just English terms. I wish we could find something better that would explain it. But I will say this, the best way that you can go ahead is you say, and continuously will say, I am a developing da 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 da. Whether it's developing medium, developing psychic, developing whatever language you choose, right? Because you
Right.
grow and you keep learning and you keep expanding throughout life. But the most important thing is when you're doing this, I think the best language we can use is to say, I'm intuitive, because that's what intuitiveness is, to be aware, to have
Right.
that connection. And it's not just through the mind, it's through the spirit, the physical body. Like it comes in so many ways, right?
And that's what I
Sorry,
was
I
saying
get off
earlier.
my soapbox. I'm
No, no,
sorry.
no, no, but that's what I was saying earlier. I don't put a label on myself. I know I have a gift, and I just say, "Yeah, I'm intuitive," or "I'm a sensitive." That's all I say.
Mhm. That's perfect. I like that. I'm more comfortable telling people I'm intuitive than to say I'm an evident. But some people need that language, and I get it. But my comfort, if everybody understood what it meant, then I would slide over to always using the word I'm intuitive, right?
Right.
But not everybody understands it. The funny thing is I did a reading for somebody, I think it was like 2 or 3 years ago, and I just met this person in public, and I was like, "There's messages. Are you interested?" And they said, "Messages of what?" And I said, "Oh, I'm a, evidentiary psychic and medium. Would you be interested in a read?" And she goes, "What's a medium? What's a psychic?" I
Right.
my jaw couldn't have hit the floor harder. I was like, "Are you serious?" I was like, "Are you serious?" Like, "Yes." I'm like, "Have you ever seen Teresa Caputo?" She's like, "No." And I'm like, "Okay, well, good to talk to you. Check you later." I had to walk off, right? But I think it's because I've come to understand that the world in itself, when we talk about abilities, this is the only thing they know. Maybe
Yeah.
it's not. Maybe it's not. I think maybe people be more open, and hopefully we can change the language to being intuitive, being sensitive. I mean,
Yeah.
if someone says I'm sensitive, maybe 20 years ago, I would think, oh, you mean no one can talk to you because you'll cry? You have hurt feelings? Right? Like, I think a lot of people would think that, especially today's generation, and no disrespect, but I mean, sorry, last generation. Today's generation is starting to take in the sensitive means being open to spirit, But our generation, the old generation might go, "Oh, you get butt hurt feelings? Is that what being sensitive means?" So,
Well, let me ask you this too, though. Over the last, I want to say month,
mhm,
um, I told somebody um, a few weeks ago that I woke up and I was just sad. I mean, really sad, where I even broke down and just woke up from a dead sleep, sad, and just started crying out of nowhere. And I was like, where are these feelings coming from? So
mhm,
somebody else told me that we started talking and she was telling me same thing. And I said, "Oh my
mhm,
God." I said, "Wait, that just happened to me like 2 days ago." And she said, "Rob,
mhm.
I reached out to like 4 different people and they told me the same exact thing, like just out of
Wow.
nowhere, just out of nowhere." And they were like, "I don't know what's going on." And so I talked to one of my mentors and she told me what was going on. And she told me that she talked to a group of friends, same thing, that were all sensitives. And she said,
Mhm.
or intuitives, and they said the same thing, but there was something to do with, I think, the last full moon. Um,
Yes. So
this,
you're raising your vibration and you're starting to really absorb the energies that are felt throughout the world and the world itself and spirit energy.
right.
Absolutely. That's phenomenal. Yeah, we just had a crazy full moon, harvest moon. Oh my God, it was intense. And we had Mercury retrograde in the house to
Right.
boot to kick. And it was
Yeah,
all in Pisces and Aries and the Aries moon. Oh, it was a lot.
yeah, it was a lot, and that's
Yeah,
what caused all of this, stir of
absolutely.
emotion, and, but no, she just started again, she was, like, laughing, "Rob, I can't believe this. I told you."
Mhm. Mhm. Well, we just had the Aries harvest moon, so it was Aries, and it worked in conjunction with Mars, which is an intense planet. It's usually known as the god of war. But when we talk about the god of war, we don't just mean the god of war, we mean intensity,
Mhm.
right? So we can use that intensity with Aries energy either in a negative, like they've talked about being the god of war, or in a positive. It doesn't matter. When you use that energy, it's intense.
Mhm.
So, if you're somebody who's sensitive and you're raising your vibration by paying attention to the cues, the symbols, the feelings, the dreams, the knowingness, just how do you know this? I don't know. I just know it. It's what we call a knowingness in my culture, right? And I
Right.
tell people, I'm like, when you get to that point, you're going to start talking to others around you in your circle, and you realize you guys will have either shared dreams or shared intuitive feelings about things. You haven't seen each other in 4 days. You call each other and say, "Hey, how you doing?" "I was just going to call you." "Shut up. I was just going to call you." And then you start talking. "Oh, today's been a really low day. I don't know why. I'm so sad." "Oh, me too." And there's no reason for it. And it's
Mm-mm.
because you're sharing this intensity. You're feeling it. So when we have the moons coming in, and they love to come in and play with us. I mean, I'm excited for Scorpio season. Truth and it all coming to surface. I love it. But with that intensity, and every person here, whether you're a Scorpio, a Capricorn, an Aquarius, a Gemini, when you have certain planets ruling that come in and they push that energy, that's going to be something that comes out within yourself. So
Mhm.
if you're a Cancer energy and we have an Aries full moon, your sensitive side of Cancer is really going to be heightened, really going to be pushed. And then you might have mixed feelings of anger in there or intensity. So you
Yeah.
see all of those things. So when you become aware of it and sensitive, absolutely, like you experienced and your friend experienced and the other friend, you all go, "I don't know what's wrong, but we all felt low to the point like I was crying when I woke up. And I don't know why, but I felt it." That's what we call a knowingness, right? That's intense. But like I said, keep a journal if possible. I know you guys were crazy busy in the world. I get it. But I promise you guys, if you can even just note take once a day what you felt when you woke up from your dream, what you were thinking about, what you saw. Some of us don't remember dreams. And there is a good reason for that too, by the way. There is a good reason. I don't know if we have enough time tonight or not to go into it, but I will say this. If you're that person who says, "I don't dream, it's been 20 years, I don't dream," then you know what you need to do is start doing meditation at least an hour prior to bed. Be patient, and I promise it will come through. If you still struggle, the next step I would I've taught classes with people many times about past life regression, opening up to your own abilities. The next easiest thing to do is take a 1 hour nap in the afternoon if possible. If you have to do it on a Sunday once a week, that's what you do. You
I do
meditate
it
for 1
every
hour.
day.
Yeah, you fall asleep for an hour, and then you'll realize your dream came in, you remembered it, it was intense but quick, and the reason why, because the human body didn't have too long of a time to stay in the REM state, because sometimes that helps us forget, right? So, the shorter the sleep, more often you'll get a more powerful dream.
Yeah, and I was kind of smiling and kind of like shaking my head a little bit because my
Mhm,
mentor has told me for years, Rob, you need to keep a journal next to your bed. You need to start writing
mhm,
stuff down. But I just have a very, I always remember everything. So I never write anything down um,
mhm.
because I always remember my dreams, um, especially when there's messages in my dreams. And I'm more of a visual person. So when I talk, I'm always visualizing what I saw. So that's just how I am. And I'm very detail oriented when I do talk. So people are like, God, Rob, get on with your story. But I'm
You know
very
what, Chris? But those are number 1 telltale signs I tell you right now when you're I'm a visual person, I'm risking saying this. No, I'm gonna say 99%. I'd love to say 100, but I might get in trouble. But 99% of people who are open or work with their abilities, intuitive, psychic, medium, or whatever that is, empath, you guys are always going to be somebody who is very creative, visual learner, somebody who's very detailed oriented. When I talk about an experience I had today, and I don't just say, "Oh, I saw a monkey throw a banana." I'll instead say, "This monkey who had really long arms grabbed this banana that had a bunch of spots on it, and the sun was out." And so the details roll out
right,
because this is what makes a better medium or a psychic, because we pay attention to those details. Those are things that come to us, and those are the most important parts. Because if I was delivering a message to you and I was like, and everybody else who's just, yeah, the monkey just came in and threw a banana, you're going to miss the message. But because
right,
you're so detailed, that loved one's giving you stuff, you're going to say, well, they not only had soft blue eyes and they took and raised other people, they talk about this, you're really giving the message. So it's good that
right.
you're like that.
But see, people hate it because they're like, you can't just say a story. Like when you tell a story, it's like 20 minutes for like a story that could have taken you
Guilty,
30 seconds. And it's
guilty. Yep,
but no, but you're gonna miss, like you said, some of the detail because there was
absolutely.
something, like you said, there was a message in there for
Mhm.
yeah.
Absolutely.
But so let me tell you about another vivid dream I had and how I woke up. So, long story short, I had a vivid dream. Well, I knew I astroplaned because of how I woke up. Anyway, I was coming back. I was going through a door and I was jumped. So I got in a fight with
Mhm.
this guy, thrown up against a cinder block, and that woke me up. When I woke up,
Mhm.
I had to dislocate a shoulder.
Oh my goodness. That's
And
intense.
yeah, I got up and the person I was with at that time, she goes, "What the hell happened to you?" And she was like, "What happened to your shoulder?" And I said, "I had a dream." And so she took me to the doctor. Well, we went to the emergency room. They were like, and they asked me how it happened. They were like, "There's no way it happened in a dream." And the way that the bruising was, they were like, "You were slammed against something." I said, "Yeah, cinder block wall in my dream." He was like, "It
Mhm.
didn't happen in a dream. There's no way this happened in a dream just because the way that you were impacted, where the bruising is." I said, "No, I'm telling you, it happened in a dream."
I've heard about this before. Not
Nobody
this
believes.
story, but the experience that you've had.
Mhm,
I'm starting to hear a little bit more about the experiences like this with others who've had like physical things appearing on the body, but yet, like they're home for 2 months. They haven't done anything, they haven't gone anywhere, but yet they wake up with these, vivid dreams they had, like yourself, where, you know, you're being slammed against, this concrete wall, this brick wall.
mhm,
And then you're waking up in the morning and you're seeing like you've got like scuff marks from the wall, bruising, swelling. The
mhm.
doctor's like, "Were you in a fight?" And you're like, "No."
Yeah, no,
Right?
yeah, I told him the story, and he's like, he didn't believe me. he thought I was trying to get, not report somebody that I got in a fight.
Mhm.
I said, "No, look, I'm still in my PJs. We just came straight from look at I have bedhead." He still didn't believe me.
Absolutely. Well, to answer somebody in chat a little while ago, I can't remember who the name was, but they said, "Are we becoming more spiritual people or more spiritual as we develop?" And absolutely. And along with that, I'm
Oh,
seeing more and more, much like Rob, where they'll come up and say, "I didn't want to talk about this because it sounds crazy." Even I'm hearing myself tell the story, and I think it sounds crazy. But I had this intense dream, and I wake up and I've got bruising and marks, or things that I can't explain. And I know I had this dream and I know it's not real, but how am I having this physical effect afterwards? Right? So this is one of many things that are starting to come more and more to the light. And it's because we're thinning the veil daily. The more that we start connecting with our true self, our true purpose, that we're more than just flesh, you know what I mean? The more it's like we're bringing this side of spirit into our awareness to existence. It's giving energy. So that being on top of it, you have to be careful too, because energy is so potent. It's in everything in life. Science has been able to prove that there's energy even in rocks, in plants. When a plant is growing and you cut one flower and the flower next to it, there's a bunch next to it, that plant that just got cut will actually send a symbol to the other plants, and the other plants will react and send out a chemical. And they have science that's video recorded it with a special light and caught it, right? So when we
Mhm.
talk about energy, it's been proven there's energy in everything. So it's all about placement and displacement. When you were having this dream, that dream was so intense that the energy from that dream was displaced and brought into this side of the world, this side
Mhm.
of the veil, you know what I mean, into this world. And you physically are seeing it and feeling it. So people talking about, I woke up with scratches and marks, or my teeth, or my hair being cut. There was one lady who said she dreamt of somebody cutting her hair, and she woke up and she said a good chunk was missing and she couldn't believe it. So like I said, it's not the first time I've heard it where someone's had a physical, experience from a dream they had.
Right.
I mean, I'm not going to argue it because my opinion, I'm afraid to share with people because then they'll really think I'm nuts. But I believe that, yeah, you can bring this into the physical. It can happen. Look at poltergeist. You
Right.
have poltergeist activity. How does that happen? Energy, right? We can argue it because we don't have any definitive proof yet, and I say yet, that it isn't spirit that's doing this stuff. Poltergeist is it's a German word for noisy ghost. But what that really is that it's pent up energy and it gets displaced. And so it'll affect the environment around it. And it makes doors open and slam and all those other things. But that's just a tip of the iceberg. We can go into that rabbit hole another day, but you get what I'm saying? Like, there are things that talk about energy and movement, and it's coming out into our everyday lives.
Yeah, we had a poltergeist, um, case when I first got started in this when I was
Mhm.
18. This
Mhm.
was one of the first cases I worked on, where a family was having poltergeist activity, and
Mhm.
we're all sitting there in the living room. All of a sudden, this lamp flies off the shelf or off of the end table onto the living room floor. Come to find out, the little girl, there was a young girl. She was probably 13, 14, between that age, and she was really upset that her grandfather died and he didn't say goodbye. So she was causing a
Mhm.
lot of activity is what we found, because when she wasn't in the house, everything was fine. As soon as she came back home,
And
all
it
hell.
was unknowingly. Yeah, unknowingly. They don't do it with intention either. Isn't that scary?
Yeah,
My husband used to make jokes. He goes, "I'm afraid of women. You guys bleed for 7 days of the month and don't die." And I was
right.
like, "Well, because we're intense energy beings, right?"
Yeah,
So imagine you got a 14-year-old female who is more than likely around the cycle of what we call our moon time. And that's why in our culture, we don't have females doing anything ceremony when they're in that time, because they're really, really powerful. We carry an open portal to spirit within our own body, right? So
Right.
when you have poltergeist activity, 8 out of 10 times, 9 out of 10 times, it's always going to be, if you narrow it down to a human, it's almost always scientifically been shown to be female and someone between the ages of 9 to 14, 9 to 15, right? And that's just science saying, hey, we have poltergeist activity. Let's measure this with science. And then,
Right.
like you said, you experienced it with the girl, and when she was gone out of the house, what happened?
There was
Right?
nothing. Yeah.
Yeah. And when she
That's
came
how
back
we
in,
figured it out.
right?
Mhm.
I love what Rachel said. We are wizards. Yes, we are wizards, Harry.
And you know what's
Well,
funny is somebody was talking about, um, there was an episode of The Waltons,
oh,
the show The Waltons, where there was an episode and there was poltergeist activity and it was caused by the girl. And I just
yeah.
stumbled across it. Somebody was talking about it somewhere and I said,
Wow.
"Are you kidding me?" And I watched the episode on YouTube and I was like, "Oh my god, that's kind of a trip." That kind of reminds me of the case that we did. So, um, yeah, and like I said, I just came across it like a few years ago, maybe 3 years ago. Aw.
See, she's bald.
No,
She looks so
that's how I would cut, my Yorkie's hair too. I'd leave her on her ears, I left it long, but
yeah. She was just bugging me right now. Like she just started licking my toes. I'm like, what are you doing? Don't do that. It's so weird.
how old
Does
is
your
she?
Yorkie do that too? She's
No,
8 months.
she would do that. I mean, she's passed, but yeah, they're amazing dogs.
Yeah.
She was my everything.
Aw. I just buried 2 years ago. And here's the thing. So my favorite holiday, and I sport this out of everything, is Halloween. Okay.
Mhm.
Halloween. My best friend Chanel, her birthday is Halloween. I love you, Chanel. I tell you, I had a dog who got to the age of 19. He was what they call a Cotten de Toulier. And it's a white little dog. And even my vet said, she goes, I'm so shocked this dog is 8. She goes, even if we said 18, he's 19. Because I adopted him when he was 4. She goes, even still, or sorry, he was 2. She goes, when he turned 4, I had to do surgery and take out his teeth because whoever had him broke his teeth, by the way. I was so pissed. Oh, don't even get me started. I foster dogs and cats like you have no idea. So I brought him in, and the sad, see what I mean when I say detail? We go into detail.
Right,
So
right.
I had Cody for 16, 17 years because I got him when he was about 2, and he passed away. And I told him, I said, you're not allowed to leave me until you're like 25. You're not allowed. And sure enough, when the vet said, well, he may pass by August, I sat with Cody and I said, if you're uncomfortable, it's okay. Mommy can let you go. I said, please don't try to stay unless you want to stay. Sure enough, the day of his passing, something changed in him. He jumped on my lap, and all day I just knew, hold him, hold him, hold him. And nothing of his behavior changed, his energy changed. And I picked him up and held him, held him, held him. And at 11:59, October 30th, he suddenly jolted up in my arms, looks at me, took one last breath, and he passed away in my arms. And he was 19
Oh my
years old. I have my whole family was surrounded with me at that time. I said, of course, Cody goes and dies on my favorite holiday. I couldn't celebrate. But the thing is, I had like this connection with him. And I tell people, I'm like, they say, do pets come forward? I said, of course they do. Of course they
Yeah.
do. When we have our pets, whether my mother-in-law, who had a pet bird for 12 years, it was a little parrot bird. And still today she cries because she has that soul connection. So I have a
Yeah,
soul connection with my dog, and I'm sure you have had it too, right?
yeah, I mean, I'm still not over it. She's been
Yeah.
gone for almost, what, 3 years?
Me
Almost 4
too,
yeah,
2 years.
3 years, 4
Aw.
years. And I'm still, um,
Yeah.
wake up sad.
But do you ever feel sometimes that she's in the room with you? You ever get that
Sometimes I
feeling?
do. Sometimes I do.
Every now and then I'll be sitting here at my office. I mean, I don't know if you guys can tell my office is big. Oops, sorry. It's big and messy, right?
It
Okay.
is
This is
huge.
where I work from, y'all. This is where I do my reads and everything. But I'll be in my office and I have the dog beds on either side. I have 2 dogs right now. And Cody would always come and sit right under my feet, underneath my chair, my armchair. So there's been times where I'll be sitting here and out of the blue, I reach down, not even thinking, and I go to pet him. And then oh, wait, he's not here. Oh, crap. And you
Right.
know what? When that happens, or like if someone here had a cat that passed away, Mookie, black and white, Pookie, Mookie, I don't know the name yet, rubs on your leg. And you look down and you go, oh, wait, they're not here anymore. That's their soul coming to sit with you, even just for that moment, right? So
I
talk to them because they really are there.
That's so weird how you say that because I went into a location and I felt a cat rub against my leg, and I even
Mhm.
looked down and I'm looking around and the
Nothing.
person that was doing the tour,
Mhm.
he looked at me and he like said, "What's going on back there?" And I said, "You talking to me?" And he said, "Yeah." And I said, "Something rubbed against my leg. It felt like a cat."
Mhm.
And he looked at the owner and he said, "Tell him." He said, "Yeah, I had a." He said, "I my cat just passed away a few months ago." And
Wow,
then somebody
Rob.
else somebody else said that they were psychic and she felt a cat rubbing against her legs. And I said, "Was he kind of a big cat?" And he said, "Yeah." And I said, "Yeah." And I said, "He had a really long tail." And he said, "Yeah, he was a big cat because the tail, like, hit my above my knee when I was standing."
Yeah,
So,
enough for you to feel it, like a good thump.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was kind
Oh
of a
my
trip.
god. I think you and I are gonna have to do more shows together moving forward. I'm gonna definitely bring you on my page and do some reads and get you exercising your psychic, you know, um, I wanna call it intuition. I gotta start using that more often, but using your psychic mediumship button you have. It's a muscle. You gotta exercise it.
No, and I do, and that's a weird thing is the thing that I'm having a really hard time with right or now is because I pick up on people's emotions because I know that they're not mine. Like sometimes I'll
Mhm.
wake and I'll just get like I'm super angry and I'm like, why am I angry? I have nothing to be mad about. Because
Mhm.
I'm really like in the morning, people hate me because I'm a morning person. But sometimes I wake up and I was like, "Why did I wake up in the mood today? I'm, like, in a really bad mood today," and that's not me. I'm never in a bad mood. I mean, you have
Mhm.
to really piss me off to get me in a bad mood, and
Mhm.
I'm like, "I know this energy is not mine. Whose energy
Mhm.
is it?" So I started talking to other mediums, and they told me, "Yeah, Rob, you need to cleanse yourself because you're picking up on too much energy. You're, like,
Absolutely.
way too open." So, yeah, so I'll
You're
go
what
out to
I would you're what I would call or what I've coined people who are very open but don't realize fully that they're that open. I call you an out of control psychic. And it's in a loving way that I say that, I really do, because what it means is that your ability is like an elastic band. It's opening, shutting. It's really going back and forth. And as you do that, your energy is really pushing out, but then you're bringing so much back in. And it's like
right.
back and forth. So it's almost like out of control. It's like a tornado of energy that's around you. And
Yep.
something's going on and you're picking up on certain things, but it's like you're cornered in a little spot. So
Right.
I'm like, okay, let's get to work. Let's get expanding your abilities. And when you do, and you start to open up more, and then you realize, holy crap, there's so much more I'm doing now. Like, woo, you know? So it's what I
Yeah.
call in a very loving way an out of control psychic.
Well,
And it's
that's
just because
why
you're energy.
yeah, and so one of my buddies, started getting me out to go out and go surfing more. So
Hmm.
that actually, I mean, to me, that's me cleansing myself in the salt water. So, and I feel
Absolutely.
so much better when I'm done. I just feel like cleansed and happy. And then I'm like, when I start getting all that energy again, I'm like, dude, we got to go surfing. I need to get in the water for a couple hours.
And oftentimes that's like one of the more when we look at elements, right? And I mean, we should do a show just on elements and elementals because that's a whole
Right.
nother conversation. I think that'd be
Um,
great. But when you
there's
look
an
at the
elemental
elements,
here.
yeah, well, there's a lot of conversation about elementals and how they affect our day-to-day lives and our energy. And then when we work with the elements, right? So one of the most powerful elements you can work with, the most powerful, is water.
Mhm.
Because when you look like in my indigenous teachings in our culture, when you cry, you're releasing water. And what does crying do? It's healing.
Mhm.
Regardless of what reason, it's healing. We are
Right.
born from what? Water. We clean ourselves in what?
Water.
Water.
Right.
We heal ourselves and hydrate with what?
Water.
Water. The plants in the world itself can't live without water. So it's one of the most powerful elements we have out here. So I tell people, I'm like, if you get a chance, whenever you're out and about and you feel drawn to water, that's your psychicness telling you time to cleanse. Let's go. And if you can't get out to the beach or a lake or a pond or a river, having a shower, when you go to shower at the end of the day or at the beginning of your mornings, you just think as the shampoo is lathering up, or even to those of you who don't have hair. I mean, my brother's bald and he still uses shampoo. I don't know. But when you're lathering up and you're feeling the soap slide down, imagine also seeing what I call the soot or the,
Mhm.
the, the dust of all that energy and going down the drain. And you'll
Right.
feel invigorated, right? Cleansed, ready to go, right? Remember, too, if you wake up in a bad mood, and we're able to rule out science like it's health issue or something, ask yourself, what did I dream about? And if you can't remember, there's a good chance that there's a soul who's sitting with you who's still very hurt or
Mhm.
heartbroken or upset, and you're feeling those feelings. So cleanse in the morning, you know? Say, okay, I'm going to wash this energy off and let's try again later on today and I'll sit with you and we can talk. But right now, I can't have that. I can't have your energy that strong.
So Rachel or Buffy wants to know, how do you shut it off?
Well, I laugh
Anyone?
only because I still haven't yet figured it out. um, you can't really shut it off. It's always going to be on. What you want to learn to do is try to turn it down to background noise. Because for me growing up, and I can only speak of my experience, it almost always was like I had background noise all the time. Or it's like trying to talk like me and you are conversating. And right now, I've got a few people here that are chatting with themselves, and it makes me feel like I'm sitting in a classroom full of kindergarten kids all yapping and you're trying to talk to the teacher. Like that's what I get through, right? So if you don't hear it, sometimes you feel it. You can feel the busyness, right? So what I tend to do is I put on music, especially at night. I can't turn it off. It drives me insane. You might not want to do what I do, but what I do at night is I put on a very boring, like sometimes Bob Ross painting or Golden Girls. And I put my headphones in, I blare it, I put my screen down, close my eyes, and that's the only way I can sleep.
Hmm.
Because if I don't have it like that, the noise is too much. It's like a rushing. It's almost like, have you ever known what it is to hear your own blood rushing through your ears? You can hear it. It's like that kind of a rushing sound, except I know it's not me. It's hollow, like through a straw, and it's spirit. So they don't do this on purpose. It's just I've opened the veil so much that when it's time for sleep, it gets quieter, but it doesn't stop. Do you know what I mean? So how do you shut it off? Become atheists. Uh, tell people I believe in science. From like Nacho Libre. It's not easy to shut off completely, but you can turn it down. You can manage it. One of the best ways also that you can work with that and managing when this comes in and out is do some meditation and grounding work. And that's one thing a lot of people get annoyed with me when I tell them meditate, do grounding work. They're like, "Oh yeah, what's that going to do?" I promise you, if you meditate, you're going to balance your energy and raise your vibration because your vibration's here, spirit is here. When you meditate, you bring it closer. So it's easier to communicate, right? But when you ground, you're definitely helping cleanse that energy. And when you try to rest or sleep or you want to, hang out with your friends and not listen to the psychic chatter, grounding works big time.
Awesome. Does anybody have any questions? Hey, Jenny, how are you doing? Oh, Rob chimed in earlier. He sent
Our
me a
Rob?
yeah, he sent me a
Oh,
message.
hope you're feeling better, Rob. Buffy says, I need to learn to shut it down a bit when I go places. I freak some of my friends out. A lot of my friends are used to it. Honey, don't hide your crazy. Shine. That's what I
Exactly.
always say, right?
People get used to it.
Yeah.
Whatever. I just say whatever.
That's what I say. You know, I try to keep it toned down. I mean, especially when I'm with my children or my grandchildren or my husband, we're out in public, you should see their eyes roll and they're like, oh, mom, please don't. And it's before I even open my mouth, they know what's going to happen. And I'm like, but I can't because it's so loud that if I shut up, there's been, oh my God, there's been times where I've been out shopping with the kids. We're buying clothes for back to school. And it was August. I was with my husband and we were at the clothing rack. And I turned over to talk to him and I seen there was a man beside me instead. And I just looked at him. I was like, sorry, or I was apologizing because I was talking and not knowing it wasn't my husband. And I looked up and I said, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to, you know. And then I turned over and my husband's on the other side. And he goes, who are you talking to? And I said, oh, I was just telling the guy I'm sorry. And then I looked back and there's no one there. And then my husband goes, okay, we're leaving. And we just walked out of the store because he's like, this is crazy. Everybody saw you, Joe. You were just carrying on conversation by yourself by the clothing rack. And I'm like, well, because someone was there, but and it's that
Right.
kind of crazy. I try to tone it down and it's like, just I don't know. For me, I always have to balance myself and then ask myself the most important, is it imperative? If it's really imperative, then I will do the conversation. But if it's something that doesn't need to be spoken to, then I leave it be.
A couple of people are asking if somebody's around them. There's Jenny and Sandy.
Well, we got
Oh,
Spirit here. Yeah, she's whining because she's staring at me.
she wants you to pick her up.
Well, I got the two dogs here. Whenever I do reads too, the dogs are always right on top of me. But I could
Oh,
be
really?
anywhere in the house and that's what they'll do. But if I'm not doing any reads, they don't care. They're in their own corner. They're doing their own thing. So I can't wait till after the show. I'm going to share the video with you and the photos, and you're going to see it.
Okay.
Like it's an ectoplasm blob that flies right through. It's crazy. I loved it. So, is there a woman that wants to speak to me? So you can go ahead. I'm going to focus on that a little bit. If you wanted to go ahead and continue.
God, I don't even remember what I was going to say.
Well, we were talking about the ectoplasm in the video I was going to share with you after the
Oh,
show.
no, that's when you catch stuff like that, it's pretty cool. I mean, like I said, I mean, a lot of people don't know what to do. Like, there's a lot of people that will go out and investigate and they'll come up with something and not know what to do with it. I like to
Mhm.
do me, I'm more of, okay, we got this. Let's find out why this is happening. Because there's so many people that go into places and they're just going by hearsay or folklore. But when spirit comes to you and gives you a message or a story, and then you dig deeper into that, you're like, wait a minute, but was there ever a person here by this name? Because I've gotten names and
Mhm.
they're very unusual names. They're not like John Smith or, Rob Hernandez. They're something like totally like uncommon. And you mention that name, they're like, how did you know that?
Mhm.
Well, I got a message and this is what they were saying. And then I dig up a story behind that person, and then I start bringing more stuff out, and I show it to a historian, and he's like, "Where did you get this? This isn't published anywhere." He said, "This
Mhm.
is on private records that were
Mhm.
sealed police records, and how did you find this?" And
Mhm.
I said, "This is how," and he was like, "There's no way. No way. That's impossible." And I said, "No, this is how I got it." And
Mhm.
he was just baffled.
Well, when we have people that come through, like for me, for example, and I can only speak on my experience, I often will have someone come through that will, they don't always give me a full name. Sometimes it's just an initial, but they'll
Mm,
give me something much like you that is something that is not common. You don't see often, or is a weird quirk, or something they've done just the other day that is not the typical, like, oh, you got out of bed yesterday. Yeah, everybody got out of bed, but it was like, oh, you got out of bed yesterday, and instead of putting your pant legs on one at a time, you jumped through both legs at the same time and fell forward. Now that's specific, right? So
right.
when you have things like that, yeah, it's really going to be like, okay, this was important. There's no messing around, right? We really need to have you understand this is real. Let's validate something, and then let me get the message out. So definitely. I
Mm,
will say this, like I am picking up someone right now, female. I wonder if it is for Sandy, but I gotta tell you, I got head trauma or head pain. So I'm not sure if this is gonna connect to you or not. But there's a lady here and she talks about there's something specific about a crystal and then a necklace. So I don't know if you had like a small crystal or a glass vial of something, and then I gotta talk about a necklace. Would you stop? She's just I'm like, nope. You know, she's so
no,
cute. It's
I'm
hard to be
working.
upset with her.
I know. Does she sleep under the covers with you, or does she sleep in a bed or a kennel?
So she sleeps in my room. She has her own bed. I try to get her to stay on the bed, but oftentimes in the morning I'll wake up and she's curled up right beside me. And she will dig down sometimes into the blankets. Not always, but sometimes. It's so
No, that's
cute. I
I
can't
had 2 Yorkies, and they both had to sleep under the covers, like, right next.
mm-hmm. Her, she's in between, but I think since we shaved her, like last night, I put a blanket on her. She's on her doggy bed, and it's one
Right,
of those black fur ones that are very, it's like alpaca fur almost. So
right.
it's a deep stress bed, right? And she'll lay in it. But I think because I shaved her, she was willing. I put the blanket over her, her own little blanket, and she did just her head like this. So I was like, okay, okay. But I woke up this morning and she was up by my neck, curled up like this by my pillow. And I'm like, hey, good morning, Phoebe. Right? She's too cute.
Right.
Sandy says, not that I can think of. I'll have to think a bit. I guess it was her stomach. Okay, so it's not for you then, Sandy. I'm so sorry. I'm not
But
sure who's, because we are sitting with a large group here, so I'm not sure
yeah,
who this is connecting to.
Deborah said
But
it
it's
sounds like her sister.
yeah, it could be the sister. Um, so Deborah, I'm gonna say, like, I gotta talk. So if this is her for you, I will say this. I feel like there's got to be talk about legal papers or legal matters for you. It's going to work out fine. There's something like you had to get some paper signed or document signed or legal stuff signed. It's going to be fine. It's going to go in your favor. I also got to talk about, do you have like a 12-year-old pet, like 12, 13, 14-year-old female pet, like not doing well or is really aged? Because she's like, I'm waiting for the animal. And I feel like it's a dog, but I'm not sure. So I also got to ask, she's got long, really dark brown hair, chocolate brown hair. Am I right, Deborah? Because that's the female I'm seeing. Are you connecting with this yet, Rob? Are you able to?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Sometimes they'll come through, sometimes they don't. This lady's got chocolate brown hair. Um, almost got her. It's like right there. I keep hearing somebody else though. There's another female here named Ashley. I'm just gonna look at her name again. Deborah Bullock. Okay. It could be my sister that passed in April that I've been trying to communicate with. Deborah. Okay. I'm just staring at her name because sometimes that helps bring the link a little bit better. I do have to talk about a vacation or trip that was out of the country. Somebody's taking a vacation or trip, and this is going to last like 30 days because it keeps showing me the whole calendar. They're gone. Um, it's a little dog. Deborah, gotta talk about a little dog. female, I feel like, because it feels like it's female energy, the dog. And they're like, we're just watching over the dog. We bug the dog. You trying to communicate with us. Well, guess what? The dog gets it. The dogs can see and hear us. And there's a lot of wine. I got to talk about wine. I don't know why. I'm not judging. Hey, but I feel like I got to talk about April wine, or if that's a song, there's a reason for it. I don't know. But I feel like this female who has the head, she's saying, I still connect with you. I still sit with you. I got to talk about a necklace. There's definitely got to be conversation about a necklace. And then saying something's hidden. So I don't know if it was, the dog's name was Puff. Aw. So who is the J to you, Deborah? And the I, letter I. So there's a J name and there's an I name. I don't yet see or understand what this means, but they just showed me the letters. So sometimes they'll give me what's called the hangman game. You remember that hangman game? So they'll do is they'll try to show me the name and they'll start giving me letters. And I'm like, just give me the name. But for whatever reason, sometimes they'll do that. Well, I'll leave that with you, but I'll tell you this much. She is very much still a part of your life, looks over or takes care of the dog or communicates or assists with the dog and loves you very much. I still will keep talking to you. We'll still keep trying to reach out to you. Sits with you and says not to worry about legal matters or papers. There's something about signing of papers. You're in the right. Keep going forward. You're gonna do well. Because I always feel she makes me feel like you're second guessing yourself about, oh, maybe I shouldn't do this. And she's like, no, do it, do it, do it. Sign the papers, get it done. You're gonna be fine. It'll be well. Sandy says her name wasn't Joni or Joan. I'm not sure. Like I said, I have the J name and then I have a letter I. So we could, again, we might be having a double message coming through. Who knows? But I'll leave it at that. I'll break my connection and send her back to you. So thank you so much, Deborah. I'm trying not to tattletale because she shows me something else and I'm like, romance is in the air. That's all I gotta say. And Sandy says her son's girlfriend, her mother passed in June. She told me about a necklace. Okay. And there's something hidden about this as well. So I'm not sure what that means for you. Is her name like Isidore or Isabel or I name? Ooh. I like that tone. Do, do. So soft and gentle.
Let's find something up.
So I guess we're good.
Yep.
I'm going to leave it there. If you guys are interested, please come and check me out. I'm on Facebook every Saturday night, 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you look for Joni White Buffalo. Okay, I do my free 1-hour live readings there every week. I am booked now until November the 6th. I didn't take any bookings after September because I was fully booked for almost 3 months in advance. So, and I am currently working part-time and in school and a mom and a grandma. So I am busy. But I am opening up to start doing bookings from November 12th and onwards because I got to take a little time off from, family life and everything, right? But November 12th.
You can also join the private page and then you can post stuff there too.
Okay. Can definitely do that.
But anyway, well, thank you, Joni, for joining us tonight. It was a lot of fun. I had a blast.
It was fun. I had so much fun. I told you it was going to be awesome. You told me it was going to be awesome. We knew it. We knocked it out the park.
Exactly. So anyway, everybody have a fun Halloween. Stay tuned. Well, tune in on Saturday because I'm going to be doing a live stream from a haunted location. So we'll probably do a couple of different live streams at night. So it's going to be a very late night. So anyway, well, thank you everybody for tuning in and see you guys Friday.